Anime is filled with optimistic heroes who believe love will save the day. Good will triumph over evil, and even the smallest life can be important. However, anime main characters aren't that clean-cut, believing the world is too complicated for anyone to be purely good. These characters aren't villains, but might commit or condone horrible actions with the best of intentions. That's why today we brought you the top 10 anime protagonists who are morally gray. So without further delay, let's start our video. Let's kick off today's list with Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. Classroom of the Elites. Kiyotaka Ayanokoji is an inconspicuous character who typically blends in with the crowd, unwilling to stand out or attract unnecessary attention. To this end, he chooses to remain in the D class, despite having the necessary intelligence and aptitudes to join the A class, which is reserved for only the most gifted of students. This conflicting nature further reflects in his behavior and attitude towards other people. On certain occasions, he appears to be genuinely friendly and willing to help others, but most of the time, he is not above lying, deceiving, and manipulating people if it benefits him in any way. That too suits his motto.
最後に俺が勝ってさえいればそれでいい
There are few protagonists as divisive as Rudius Greyrat. Reborn into a magical world after dying as a reclusive and regretful NET, he starts over with all his memories intact. That premise alone sets him up for moral ambiguity. He's not just growing up again. He's consciously shaping his life based on past mistakes and desires. From early on, Rudius is deeply flawed. His behavior toward women, especially in the first season, crosses many uncomfortable boundaries. It's this early perversion, carried over from his past life, that caused a split among the fanbase. Some saw a character genuinely trying to become better. Others saw someone abusing a second chance. But Rudius is not written to be a role model. His development is the point. That duality of being both the sinner and the savior is what makes Rudius morally gray. He isn't good. He isn't evil. He's human. And in a fantasy world filled with chosen heroes and power-hungry villains, that alone makes him stand out. Our next entry is Coco Hekmatyar. As the protagonist of Jormungand, Coco Hekmatyar is a character whose noble goal is only obscured by her immoral plan. The titular Jormungand is a secret project that she developed along with her best friend Minami Amada, aiming to end war and arms trade completely. While this may sound positive on paper, the issue is that her methods involve the use of a complex network of satellites and quantum computers that would completely prevent air travel, and eventually sea and land travel as well if needed. Even while knowing that 700,000 people may die upon Jormungand's activation, Coco considers these casualties insignificant when compared to what she hopes to achieve world peace. Next, we have Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul. Ken Kaneki is a complex and controversial character whose personality and attitude evolve drastically throughout the runtime of the series. Initially, he appears to be a gentle and reserved person who would go to any length to protect those dear to him, even if it meant he had to be punished for actions that he didn't commit. Even after becoming a half-ghoul, he maintained his compassionate and self-sacrificing nature. However, his attitude started to change after he was captured and tortured. He remained equally kind to his friends, but became crueler and more violent toward his enemies, eventually losing sight of who he wanted to be. Next, we have Decim. As the titular bartender of Quindecim and the protagonist of Death Parade, Decim was designed to be morally ambiguous. His bar is where two people who have died at the same time go, waiting for their fates to be judged, and he is the arbiter who decides whether their souls are to be reincarnated or lost to the void forever. Committed to his role as an arbiter, Decim always does his best to understand and care for his guests, even though he lacks an understanding of human emotions. However, he does not take upon himself the duty of either saving or dooming anyone, but merely passes down judgment as he sees fit. Next is Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Spike Spiegel doesn't try to save the world. He's just trying to survive it. Once a hitman for the Red Dragon Syndicate, Spike faked his death and started over as a bounty hunter aboard the Bebop. But his past constantly drags at his heels, especially through his connection to Vicious and Julia. Unlike typical protagonists, Spike doesn't fight for justice. He fights because running has finally stopped working. Throughout the show, he often comes off lazy, indifferent, and emotionally detached. But those moments of apathy are layered with pain. He masks trauma with nonchalance, constantly dodging emotional intimacy, particularly with Faye and Jet, because he doesn't believe in tomorrow. He literally says he's already died once. He never truly atoned and maybe never wanted to. He believed the world was already broken and that men like him were built to die in it. Black Lagoon's female protagonist, Revei, is a polarizing and compelling character. Having been raised in a tough environment, wherein she suffered both physical and sexual abuse, she grew to hate her own powerlessness. She also values money above all else, as she is aware of just how difficult and unfair life can be for the underprivileged. This is what set her down the path of a mercenary. As a member of the Lagoon Company, Revei is known as the competitive, loud, and impatient one, often resorting to violence with no hesitation. However, she can also be kind and protective towards those she cares about, such as Rock. Vampires are surprisingly prevalent in anime, and the genre's most iconic series is Hellsing, which follows the titular group as they exterminate any dark creatures that threaten humanity. However, their greatest weapon is Alucard, a vampire who fights his kind for unknown reasons, brutally slaughtering anything against the company. Hellsing is a gruesome anime that features some of the most intense action and gore sequences, and Alucard delivers most of them. He is one of the strongest protagonists in anime, and there is no doubt in fans' minds as to why he is the ultimate weapon. As a vampire, his means of killing are horrific, but he fights against the evilest creatures imaginable, making him a standout morally gray character. Then we have Guts from Berserk. Guts is a man who has lived in a brutal environment ever since his birth. As a child, he was forced to fight on battlefields, facing constant abuse and loss. Upon having momentary peace with Griffith, he lost this too during the eclipse. Left with nothing but the need for revenge, Guts became a violent and brash individual who lived to kill demons. However, through his journey, he has run into comrades who have helped lighten him up. While the scars of Guts' past will take a long time to heal, he is slowly learning to trust again. Guts is one character who is extremely violent, but it is completely understandable. In the unforgiving world of Berserk, we have seen the countless impossible tests he has had to face. Hence, his relentlessness to survive makes him a true antihero rather than a villain. Finally, earning the top spot is one of the most iconic protagonists and anime characters, Lelouch Lamperouge from Code Geass. In an alternate reality, the Britannia Empire is in control over Japan. After Lelouch gains a mysterious power, he uses it to lead a revolution, freeing Japan while also aiming for selfish goals in this classic anime series. There are many great morally gray anime figures, but none is more iconic than Lelouch, a brilliantly written character who is also a fan favorite. A leader cannot be suitable to spearhead a revolution without a degree of ruthlessness, so Lelouch embodies both good and bad to take down the tyrannical empire. His methods are devious, and he has selfish goals, but Lelouch does everything for the greater good, making him a legendary morally gray character.